Hi and welcome to Need or Say More. In today's tutorial we're going to talk through how to repair a broken zipper. You can see on these pair of jeans here there's a small hole in the teeth where a couple of teeth have come away and the zipper's totally come away from the left hand side. So for this project you need an unpicker, a jean zip, pins, small sewing scissors, sewing machine, sewing needle and denim needles for your machine. I prefer using the YKK zips because these are the ones that come in the Levi's jeans. I'm not endorsed or sponsored by them. I just like to use the ones that come in because they are really strong. So to start off with, you're going to start by taking a couple of stitches out of the waistband at the top of the zip, and then you're going to start to try and take out a couple of stitches on the fabric. It's really hard getting started because you have to be really careful so that you don't damage the surface of the denim, and it's hard to get inside. But once you've taken a few stitches out and you can get behind the zip, it's much easier to take the stitching out. You can see on the left hand side of the zip here, there's actually 2 lines of stitching. So it is a little tiny bit time consuming, but it's worth doing properly so that you don't do any damage to the area around the zip. So I've taken a little bit out of the waistband, gone all the way down the left hand side, and now I'm starting on the right hand side. So take a few stitches out of the waistband because on both sides the zip does go up into the waistband to secure the ends, and then you're going to take out the stitching. You see here you can get behind the zip easier and it's coming out much quicker. And then what I like to do is any threads that I take off in the unpicking process, I like to put in my thread recycling and fabric recycling box, and I can recycle any bits. So once you get down to the bottom of the zip, it can be a little bit tricky because you've got several layers of fabric here and lots of stitching. So you might get to the point where you have to use small sewing scissors to cut off the bottom of the zip. If you do choose to do this, because you can see in the video here I'm really struggling to get that last bit of the zip out, please make sure you do it very carefully. So you're just cutting off the very bottom of the zip. Here we go. So use the scissors, the very bottom of the zip. So remove all loose threads. So you don't want these getting in the way when you're sewing your zip in. So the length zip that I'm using is a 15 centimetre zip, and this seems to be perfect for the Levi's jeans that I'm repairing. So you want to slide the left hand side of the zip into the seam you've just unpicked, and you're going to pin it securely. And you want to pin it how it was before, so you've got as much of the zip tape showing as it was before. So here, on the right hand side, if you were to sew the zip onto the right hand side, you would have stitching on the fly front, which you don't want. So you may have to do additional unpicking here to get into the fly front so that you haven't got visible stitching. So you can see here I'm taking out this top stitching around the fly front, which can be a little bit tricky to restitch, but it will give a much better finish. So this is for the right hand side of the zip, and I'll show you later in the video how to restitch that in place. So the top stitching does come out quite easily. And then it's really important to take out all the stitching, take away all the loose threads so they don't get caught. So if you look, you're pinning the zip behind the fly front. So it's being pinned into the fabric behind the fly. And this means there'll be no visible stitching on the outside. And that is why we had to unpick that top stitching on the fly. And follow the lines of stitching all the way down. So you're following the existing lines of stitching to ensure that you put the zip exactly as it was before and the jeans still have the same fit. So it's all pinned in now, ready to sew back together. It's really important to use jeans needles in your sewing machine. They are much thicker, much stronger, so they're less likely to snap when you're sewing. I'm using the Prim jeans needles, but refer to your sewing machine manual and it'll tell you the best jeans needles for your machine. So I've got a zipper foot on my machine. I'm sewing and reversing, coming all the way down the zip. Take the pins out as you go. Please don't sew over the pins. It can be quite dangerous. It is really fiddly doing this on the machine, so take your time. In some ways, I think it's harder doing repairs than it is making jeans from scratch. So I've sewn all the way down the zip, and then Levi's actually do 2 lines of stitching. So I'm going to copy what they did because I want it to be as strong as it was originally. So go all the way down the zip. So I'm going to do a parallel line of stitching next to the zip. So that's in, nice and strong. So now I'm going to repeat on the other side. For this side, I need to use top stitching thread. I can't use the navy thread because that's what they used in the original zip. So I've gone for a kind of creamy beige colour, and I've checked first that it matches the top stitching on the jeans already. So I'm sewing with a normal machine foot here because I don't need to get quite as close to the teeth as I did on the right hand side. So now I'm restitching the top stitching on the fly front, and I'm following the existing line of stitching, so where I unpicked. So if you go nice and slowly, you can follow the little holes where you unpicked before, just to make it a little bit easier and to keep the same look as the jeans had previously. So restitching the waistband. Now you want to go nice and slowly here. So that little piece of denim that I just put behind the presser foot, we call that a hump jumper. And what a hump jumper is and does, so it's just some folded up scrap denim from a previous project, and it can be any fabric as long as it's a similar thickness. This allows the presser foot to be lifted at the back, so you don't have any skipped stitching. Because sometimes if the fabric's quite lumpy, the machine can skip stitches. So I would recommend making yourself a little hump jumper for this project to ensure even stitching. So the waistband is fixed now. The zip is in the back in the waistband. It's all really secure. So now I'm testing on a scrap how to do the bartack. So the bartack is like a small series of zigzag stitches on the fly, and it's to reinforce and add strength. So on a little scrap, I'd recommend testing the bartack out, experiment with your zigzag, the stitch width, the stitch length, because you want it to be as close as it is to the original. And again, I'm using the hump jumper here, this time in front of the presser foot, to make sure I don't get any skip stitching. So you can see here, if you look at the original one and the one that I just did, it's very, very similar. So the very bottom of the fly was very bulky, and I kept skipping stitches. And the more annoyed I was getting with it, the longer it took me. So I did come back to that bit. Here we go, all fixed. See top stitching all the way around, zips nice and sturdy, waistband reattached.